I am definitely not being held at gunpoint by Abyss right now to talk about bleed on this patch, Tarnished. Pay no mind to the gun, it's just an illusion caused by your overconsumption of oversaturated fats. Patch 1.10 sure has brought us tons of surprises, Tarnished. But if I had to point out which one is my favourite, I'd say that the poise damage changes, making Ashes of War shine in the spotlight, is a great addition to the game. Naturally, sadistic as I am, I try to seek the most optimal setups to make said Ashes of War feel like tactical nukes. And what's best for nuking unsuspecting individuals than good old bleed? If you've played Elden Ring before, which I'm sure you have because why are you here otherwise? Chances are you've run into bleed before. A delicious flat damage of 100 or 200 points, depending on the weapon, plus 15% of the enemy's max HP, plus a stun to hold that son of a gun in place, and denying him escape from the sweet embrace of death. You might remember the era in which bleed was king, where dual-wielded bleed weapons were a nightmare, and weapons like Rivers of Blood were thriving, destroying hair follicles in Redditors' heads by the thousands. With the arrival of patch 1.06 and 1.07, bleed builds were nerfed all across the board, since Rivers of Blood saw a decrease in damage and bleed build up, while the status effect stacking of dual-wielded weapons also received a sizable nerf. But on this patch, since poise was changed all over the place, Ashes of War such as Stormcaller and Spinning Slash are now amazing bleed appliers, since these Ashes of War will always connect their multi-hit combos. And do you know what all of this secured damage can be combined with? Well, yes, of course, bleed. Duh. First of all, I need to tell you that unless you're running an arcane build, the best way to inflict bleed is to use the Blood Flame Blade incantation. First, I need to explain to you how Blood Flame works. Blood Flame Blade is a buff in Elden Ring that coats the blade you use it with in, well, Blood Flame. When you get hit by Blood Flame, you get a passive bleed build-up for a short period of time that fills the bleed meter. The thing about this passive build-up, though, is that, unlike normal bleed, that when procced during rolls only stuns you, I've talked about why this happens in this other video right here, the damage procced by Blood Flame passive build-up will still apply through rolls. It is quite broken, if you ask me. So how does this synergize with the recently changed Ashes of War? Let's take the Stormcaller Ash of War, for example. The startup of Stormcaller has very resisting hyper armor. It can be used to counter an enemy attack by either predicting it or reacting to it. You'll tank the hits with the hyper armor and the enemy will be hit with the 3 swings of Stormcaller. This will most likely guarantee blood loss against enemies with low to mid robustness, and the rest will be most likely left on the brink of blood loss. Just be careful, because the hyper armor cannot withstand attack from colossal weapons or certain jump attacks. Furthermore, sometimes the stun of the bleed during the enemy's attempted escape will stun them mid-roll, causing the 4th or 5th hit of Stormcaller to connect in a combo, making this a 5-hit pseudo-combo. But what about an Ash of War that always combos, such as Spinning Slash, for example? The best weapon for this is the Nagakiba, with its huge range and innate bleed. Applying Blood Flame to it and using Spinning Slash can be devastating. It's lightning fast to come out and very deceiving with its range too. And the best part, it will always break stance and it will always combo, no matter how much poise the enemy has. Not to mention that heavy weapons using Spinning Slash have amazing hyper armor too. Speaking of hyper armor, the Ash of War that provides the most of it on command would be Storm Stomp. The hyper armor on this thing is so strong that it can withstand almost anything, with the only thing being capable of breaking its stance being a colossal sword-jumping R2. And after landing it, Storm Stomp guarantees a free hit, the best weapon to use it with being Raptor's Talons, infused with Blood Flame of course, because it already has innate bleed, and the R2 is a lightning-fast 2-hit attack that can combo into itself. Pretty nasty, yes, I know, that's why I love it. And there is one more weapon that has been popping back into the radar with the new poise changes, that being Rivers of Blood. Wait. Don't worry, it's not as disgusting as it used to be, but now if you're carrying less than 40 poise, the blood part of the slash will always stagger you, and if it hits with the blade, it will stagger no matter how much poise you have, and the bleed build-up can be pretty nasty. It is not a pushover as it has been in the last 4 patches, and it has to be respected again. And yes, my little Mountain Dew barrels, I will also explain to you how to deal with these setups. The first and most important thing would obviously be to carry with you the necessary talismans and consumables that are resistant to bleed. You will need to learn how to switch items in the inventory mid-fight. It will take time, but it's fun to try it. In case you like to use two-handed weapons, the Spiral Horn Shield can prove useful against bleed because it grants protection against all status effects. The effects of the shield will apply simply by having it on your back. As for the Ashes of War themselves, you will never know if the enemy has them until they use them, but learning to identify what weapons tend to have those Ashes of War will certainly help you. For instance, Storm Stomp tends to be combined with fists, claws, or dual straight swords. Stormcaller tends to be combined with semi-heavy weapons such as scythes, halberds, and greatswords. And Spinning Slash is commonly used with fast weapons such as the Nagakiba or the Shamsha. Once you've identified them, you need to know what to do against them. For both Stormcaller and Storm Stomp, the play would be to use weapons that can get in quick and get out fast, such as thrusting swords, daggers, or halberds, providing that you're using the running attack. Be careful with the lingering hitboxes of both Storm Stomp and Stormcaller though. As for Spinning Slash, some weapons can trade with its first hit and go back to neutral. Or you could use weapons with hyper armor to trade with it in your favor. As for Rivers of Blood, you can either go over 72 poise for optimal approach, or and that would be Abyss. Do we have to do this now? Fine, just please try to enter the frame slowly and carefully. We don't want...
If I got in... Surprise! Kick your ass!
Well, that certainly was something. That's going to be all for today, Tarnished. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, a comment, and share it with friends. Feel free to subscribe to either Only Waifu, Abyss, or Tenzu, the talented artist of this video's thumbnail. All of their socials are in the description of this video. Thanks for watching, Tarnished. I'll be watching you. Eat an apple a day.